It's already happening, and your body knew it before your mind could explain it. That subtle weight in your chest. That strange sleep cycle where you're tired but not restful. The flickers of memory that don't belong to anything recent, but feel urgent. This isn't coincidence. This isn't overthinking. Something is unfolding, and the shift began before you had a name for it. The lyrids haven't peaked yet, but they don't wait for permission. They don't arrive with fanfare. They slip through the atmosphere the same way a thought enters before it becomes language, quiet, electric, undeniable. And when they fall, they don't just touch the sky. They touch timelines. They land in the body. They awaken memory, not like a flashback, but like an instinct returning to the surface. If your energy has felt strange lately, like you're stretched between two versions of yourself, you're not spiraling. You're sinking. This is what attunement feels like before a wave hits. You might not see it in the sky yet, but your system has already started adapting. The tension you've been holding. It's preparation. The restlessness in your bones. That's resonance. Because what's coming isn't just light, it's a message. And the more sensitive you are, the earlier you'll feel it. The lyrids aren't just falling stars. They're messengers. And your body is already listening. Here are 8 strange signs that you're aligning with what's about to arrive. Some mornings, the hunger hits before you've even opened your eyes. It's not the normal kind, the slow build from sleep to appetite. No, this arrives like absence, like something was taken from you in the night and your body is clawing for it back. You find yourself pacing the kitchen before the sun is even up, staring at ingredients you used to crave but now can't seem to piece together. Everything feels too much or not enough. And then, by midday, it reverses. The hunger disappears like it was never there. The food that once comforted you feels oddly distant, flavorless, even hollow. This isn't about diet. It's not about stress, hormones, or routine. This is frequency. The lyrids don't just move through the sky, they move through systems. And your body, more than your mind, is the first to feel them arrive. When starlight becomes signal, it doesn't land in your thoughts. It lands in your gut. That's the first antenna. That's where truth lives. The hunger isn't physical, it's energetic. You're not craving calories. You're craving alignment. You're reaching for something that isn't on the shelf or in the fridge, it's in the field. And when your body can't find it, it pulls back. It refuses to consume what no longer nourishes truth. So if your appetite has felt wild lately, insatiable one day, ghostly the next, it's not failure. It's tuning. Your body is syncing to something it hasn't met in a long time, coherence. And sometimes coherence requires the system to empty before it can hold something new. But the lyrids don't stop at the gut. Once the body starts clearing space, the subconscious begins to open. And that's when the dreams begin. You might wake in the middle of the night, breathless, like you've just finished speaking something important, but can't remember what. You might sit up in bed and feel the trace of a conversation still ringing in your ears, even though no one else is there. You might look at your hands and feel like they held something, or someone, you haven't met in this life. That's not fantasy. That's recall. That's the veil thinning just enough for your soul to remember what your mind has forgotten. The lyrids don't bring random visions. They bring symbolic instruction. But the symbols aren't always clear. Not right away. They're designed to linger. To haunt you, softly. You'll go through your day and then, snap, you'll see a word, or hear a sound, or glance at a stranger and suddenly remember a fragment of that dream. Not the plot. The feeling. The knowing. The way it landed in your chest. These dreams aren't entertainment. They're activation. And they're not always sweet. Sometimes they're unsettling. Not in a nightmare way, but in a what did I just touch that I wasn't ready for way. You might dream of oceans you've never seen, staircases that never end, rooms full of people who call you by names you've never spoken aloud. And somehow, it doesn't scare you. It feels like home. You might not be able to explain it. That's the point. These aren't memories from your past. They're memories from your soul. From a version of you that existed long before this form. And the reason they feel so vivid, so detailed, is because they are. You've already lived through them. Not in this lifetime. But in another layer of you. The layer that gets stirred when the sky thins and the meteors fall. If you felt out of place lately, like waking life is just a little too flat, a little too quiet, it might be because your night life has started to take the lead. You fall asleep and dream so deeply it takes hours to shake off. You wake up already tired, like you've been doing work in your sleep. That's not fatigue. That's activation in motion. Your spirit is in rehearsal. Your body is catching up. And the most strange part? The dreams aren't random. They start building on each other. You'll begin to notice a thread. A recurring figure. A place that shows up night after night. That's the Lyrids dropping a breadcrumb trail, not to the future, but to the version of you that already knows what's coming next. The part that's been waiting for this cycle to open. The part that doesn't need prophecy because it remembers. That's why your dreams have become louder than your daily thoughts. That's why you've woken up mid-sentence. That's why you've started talking in your sleep, or waking with tears on your face without any sadness you can name. Because what's surfacing isn't emotion. It's instruction. Delivered in the only language your conscious mind can't argue with, sleep. And soon, very soon, you'll start to notice that your waking life is responding. A word from your dream shows up in a text. A symbol appears in a song. A face you swore you'd never seen walks past you on the street. That's not coincidence. That's alignment completing its circle. You're not going crazy. You're just waking up in multiple directions at once. And that means the system is working. It means the Lyrids are doing exactly what they came to do. But they've only just begun. Because once the body calibrates and the subconscious opens, the next shift moves into your field, the energy around you, and the people who used to live inside it. And that's when things start showing up that were supposed to stay buried. They show up in the quiet. Not with grand gestures or perfect timing, but subtly, strangely, like a ripple moving through still water. Someone you haven't thought of in months suddenly texts you. Another shows up in a dream, not how they were, but how they could have been. Or maybe there's no message, no image, no voice, just a weight. A familiar energetic fingerprint you haven't felt in years brushing against your awareness for no clear reason. You pause, wondering why you're suddenly thinking about them. Why their name lingers on your lips. Why a place, a date, a song they once mentioned now feels magnetic. This isn't nostalgia. It's not longing either. It's clearance. These people are bookmarks in your story, fragments of who you were when they last knew you. And now the story is turning. The Lyrids are shifting timelines, and to do that, they bring the past forward, not to restore it, but to release it. You might feel tempted to reach out. You might feel tempted to block. You might feel both. This confusion is part of the recalibration. These people aren't necessarily meant to re-enter your orbit. Most of them aren't. But they're still attached, through unspoken words, unfinished exits, tangled emotion that got stuffed into the corners of your memory and never properly unpacked. And now, that old energy is knocking, not to rekindle, but to exit with awareness. If your throat feels tight, if you're rehearsing conversations in your mind that never actually happened, or if you keep remembering things you thought you'd forgotten, trust that. That's your body trying to close what your spirit never had time to complete. These past connections are energetic debts that want to be resolved, not with drama, but with clarity. Sometimes that clarity comes from a final message. Sometimes it comes from a decision not to send one. Either way, your soul knows what it's holding. And when the Lyrids move through, they amplify whatever is still clinging to you. So listen. Don't analyze every feeling, but don't ignore them either. Because when you're being called forward, the past often echoes loudest just before it lets go. And sometimes, it's not a person that comes back. Sometimes it's a part of yourself you buried along with them. A softness. A boldness. A version of you that didn't survive that dynamic. When their memory resurfaces, it's not always about them. It's about you, and what you're finally ready to retrieve. But it's not just in emotion where these shifts land. It's in form. It's in the mirror. You're brushing your teeth. Walking past a shop window. Catching your reflection in your phone screen, and for a second, you stop. You pause not because something is wrong, but because something feels unfamiliar. Your face hasn't changed. But it's holding something it wasn't yesterday. Your eyes carry a weight. Or maybe a calm. Like a memory trying to wake up through your features. This is one of the strangest effects of the lyrids. They don't just bring energetic messages, they alter perception. Especially self-perception. And sometimes, the portal opens through your own reflection. Not dramatically. Not mystically. Just enough to make you question, is this who I've been, or who I'm becoming? You might notice your expression is different when you're not paying attention. A more grounded gaze. A posture that looks like someone who stopped asking for permission. For a second, it might feel like you're looking at the future version of you. The one who said no more, the one who remembered how much they've already survived, the one who doesn't bend just to be seen. This isn't psychological. It's energetic. It's a mirror checkpoint. The lyrids illuminate more than the sky, they cast reflection across timelines. What you're seeing isn't a distortion. It's a merging. You're watching pieces of your identity snap into place. And it doesn't always feel empowering, it can feel unsettling. Because it means the old version of you, the one who settled, shrank, softened your voice just to be safe, is no longer in control. And if that brings up emotion, grief, fear, even anger, let it. You're not mourning who you were. You're saying goodbye to the version of you that was built in response to everything you had to survive. The one who didn't know any better. The one who did what they had to do. That version deserves your thanks. And now, your permission to rest. The lyrids have a way of drawing out the truth without asking for it directly. They don't force confrontation. They just keep reflecting you back to yourself, until you're brave enough to look without flinching. So if your reflection has been making you pause, if you feel like your own eyes are trying to tell you something, don't rush to name it. Just observe. Because in that pause, in that slight shift of recognition, something ancient is unfolding. The past is being cleared. The self is being realigned. And the stars are watching to see if you'll notice what you've become. And just when you think you've caught up, the timelines shift again. You're mid-sentence in a conversation, but part of you is floating somewhere above the words. You can hear yourself replying, nodding, smiling, but it feels mechanical, like watching a puppet you forgot you were controlling. You scroll through your phone and none of it lands. Faces blur. Words melt. Notifications buzz and vanish before they reach meaning. Everything around you looks normal. Sounds normal. Moves in the right order. But it doesn't feel like it belongs to you anymore. Like you're watching life from behind a sheet of glass. This isn't burnout. It's not dissociation. It's not even overwhelm. It's something more subtle, more sacred. This is what it feels like when one version of you starts peeling away from another. When your consciousness gets ahead of your circumstances. This is timeline transition. The moment where you haven't fully left the old story, but the new one has already started writing itself in the margins. And what makes it stranger is how familiar it all still looks. Same people. Same habits. Same calendar notifications. But none of it feels anchored anymore. The lyrids do this. They arrive like sparks but leave trails that ripple through memory, emotion, and perception. They thin the veil not just between worlds, but between versions of self. What you're sensing right now is not the disappearance of reality. It's the soft unfurling of a new one. And your spirit is trying to walk ahead before your body has caught up. So if you feel out of sync, like you're both here and not here, trust that feeling. You are in between. You're standing in the hallway between timelines. One foot in the chapter you've already outgrown, the other barely touching the next page. And in this in-between space, things get weird. Music might sound deeper. Time might glitch. You might feel like a single second stretched into a memory, or like entire hours passed and nothing really happened. You're not broken. You're just being recalibrated. And part of that recalibration includes something you might not expect, your inner voice changing tone. Because while the world around you starts to blur, your inner monologue sharpens. No more soft nudges. No more gentle, maybe don't do that. Now it's direct. Unapologetic. And weirdly hilarious. You'll be about to make the same mistake you always make, and suddenly, bam, a voice cuts in, sure. Try that again. Let's see how that goes this time. It's not cruel. It's not self-hate. It's your higher self, tired of watching you loop the same patterns hoping they'll bring different results. This voice doesn't feel holy. It feels real. It uses sarcasm. It knows your excuses. It skips the drama and cuts straight to the truth. And somehow, even when it's blunt, you know it's right. You're not being mocked, you're being moved. Pushed. Pulled forward. Because the window for growth has narrowed, and your soul doesn't want to miss it. When the lyrids activate, they don't just open portals above. They open pressure points inside. Points where clarity becomes uncomfortable. Where truth refuses to wait. And your inner voice becomes the delivery system for everything you've already known but didn't want to hear. It might sound like a friend who doesn't sugarcoat. A mentor who sees through your delay tactics. A version of you that stopped negotiating with fear. And it hits fast. You'll be about to send a message you know you'll regret, and the voice says, again? Really? You'll start rehearsing a conversation that's rooted in people-pleasing, and it says, say it or don't. But stop lying to yourself. This isn't negativity. This is precision. Your spirit isn't trying to hurt you. It's trying to interrupt the lie. What's strange is that this voice doesn't feel forced. It feels familiar. Like someone who's always been there, just waiting for you to stop ignoring them. And you don't have to obey everything it says immediately. But once you hear it, you can't unhear it. That's the gift and the challenge. The moment your truth finds its voice, every false comfort starts to itch. You might feel exposed. You might feel like everything you've been hiding from yourself is suddenly sitting in your lap. That's not failure. That's activation. The lyrids don't just show you light, they show you what's still living in your shadow. And the voice you're hearing now? That's the guide that leads you through it. So if your inner dialogue has started sounding a little sharper, if you find yourself laughing at your own patterns even as you repeat them, don't mistake that for defeat. It's clarity. Clarity arriving in the only form you were still willing to listen to, humor wrapped in honesty. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. And in this timeline transition, where reality is slippery and silence feels loud, that voice inside you is your anchor. It doesn't care about politeness. It doesn't care if you're ready. It only cares that you're listening now. And if you are, if you've started noticing how much your own words are waking you up, then the lyrids are already doing their work. Because when the world begins to fade, and your spirit begins to rise, all that's left to carry you forward, is truth. You keep seeing them. The same numbers over and over again, on clocks, receipts, license plates. 111, 222. 444, you look away, distract yourself, try to brush it off, and then it's there again. You hear a song you haven't thought about in years, then it plays twice more that week. You glance at your phone just in time to see someone's name from the past flash on screen, even if they never messaged. A scent. A memory. A glitch in timing that makes you stop and ask, why does this feel important? These are signs. But they're not meant to decode, yet. And that's the part most people miss. You're not being given a message. You're being pulled into momentum. The signs are there not to point you somewhere, but to push you into movement. Because if the map showed up too soon, you'd study it. Analyze it. Try to outthink it. But the lyrics don't want you to think your way forward. They want you to feel your way in. So the signals keep showing up just slightly out of reach. They don't line up neatly. They don't form a clear sentence. Because clarity would let your fear take control again. These signs don't confirm anything. They stir your attention. They tug at your memory. They make you alert, aware, slightly obsessed. And that obsession, that low-grade hum of, I don't know what's coming but I know it matters, that's not distraction. That's alignment. You are being led by breadcrumbs, not billboards. Because what's coming isn't something you were meant to plan. It's something that was always going to meet you once you started walking. The path won't light up because you understand it. It will light up because you chose to follow the frequency anyway. You don't have to know why you're feeling drawn to certain names, places, or symbols. You just have to stop dismissing them. This is how spiritual memory speaks. Not through explanation, but repetition. It nudges. It repeats. It presses until you stop asking what it means and start asking what it wants. And that question, that shift in posture, is the real initiation. The moment when your mind finally lets the body take the lead. Because your body already knows. That's the final sign. You feel it like electricity, but there's nowhere to send it. You wake up buzzing. Your hands tingle. Your heart beats louder than it should for no physical reason. You sit down to rest, but your bones don't want stillness. Not because of anxiety, but because your system is bracing for something unseen. You're not overwhelmed. You're preparing. For what? Your body doesn't tell you. It just keeps pulsing. Like something is about to start, and you haven't been told where to stand yet. It's like being backstage right before the curtain lifts. No one gave you the script. But you feel the moment building. The atmosphere changing. The air thickening. That's not fear. That's recognition. Because somewhere deep in your cells, the memory is surfacing. Of a time, maybe another life, maybe a dream, where you knew this feeling. Where you stood in this exact kind of silence and something world-altering began the second after. That pulse in your spine. That jolt that comes out of nowhere. That is the arrival before the event. The lyrics don't just fall through sky. They fall through systems. And when your nervous system is the receiver, the signal shows up first as pressure. Not danger. Urgency. You're not malfunctioning. You're resonating. That heat in your chest. That flutter in your throat. That tingling behind your eyes. It's not caffeine. It's not adrenaline. It's alignment. Something in the cosmos just lined up with something inside of you, and your body is reacting before your logic catches up. Some people will dismiss it. They'll explain it away. They'll call it stress, excitement, maybe even coincidence. But you know better. You know this feeling doesn't come from thinking too hard. It comes from standing too close to truth. From being inside a moment that hasn't revealed itself yet. And that's the key. You don't need to name what's happening. You just need to not run from it. Let the pulse rise. Let the static hum through your skin. Let your hands shake if they need to. Don't suppress the signal just because you don't understand its destination. The lyrics didn't come to make you comfortable. They came to initiate. So if you've been vibrating with no outlet, if you feel like something is about to happen and you don't know what, it's not because you're lost. It's because you're finally standing in the exact place you were always meant to land. Not with instructions. With readiness. And when the moment arrives, you won't need to be told what to do. You'll just know. Because your body already said yes before your mind could argue. This was never about watching meteors streak across the sky and whispering wishes like you used to when you were young and still believed light had no agenda. This moment is not passive. The lyrids aren't falling for your entertainment. They're falling like sparks across a memory field you forgot existed, and they're not just lighting up the sky, they're activating the map inside your nervous system. A map that doesn't point north, or forward, or back, but inward. Because what's moving now doesn't need to ask for direction. It already knows where you are. You've felt it. Somewhere in the ache behind your ribs. In the way your thoughts no longer arrive cleanly. In the way your body's been pulsing with signals that your calendar can't explain. These signs, subtle, strange, sacred, are not symptoms of confusion. They are milestones. Proof that the shift didn't start with the sky. It started with you. The lyrids only fall where the field is ready. And if you felt the hunger, the dreams, the strange return of past echoes, the mirror reflecting something slightly more true than you expected, then you're already in the field. You're not watching from the outside anymore. You've stepped into it. And stepping in doesn't require certainty. It requires presence. The most powerful transitions rarely come with announcements. They come with a soft unraveling. A tilt in perspective. A body that twitches before truth arrives. A voice inside that sharpens before the message lands. If even one of these signs spoke to you tonight, don't try to explain it. Just recognize it. Say yes to the alignment you've been feeling without needing it to look like anyone else's version of awakening. Because this isn't prediction. It's initiation. You're not preparing for something that might happen. You're already inside it. And the next layer isn't about waiting. It's about responding. Let the movement find you open. Let the signals catch you aware. Let the stars speak their language, and trust that your body already understands it. Comment, I'm already in the field, if even one moment tonight felt too aligned to be coincidence. Let the system know you're awake. Let your own voice echo back the truth your spirit already claimed. And if you want to keep walking with these transmissions as they come, if you want to stay ahead of what the sky is whispering, subscribe. Because what's coming next doesn't just move above you. It rewrites what you thought your future was supposed to be. You're not chasing change anymore. You are the signal. And the sky is just catching up.